Dragon Masters. Roar of the Thunder Dragon. By Tracy West. 1. Looking for Lalo. Lalo! Lalo! Drake and Carlos called out as they walked through the trees. In front of the two dragon masters, a large brown dragon slithered along the path. Behind them, a short, chubby wizard named Diego watched the sky. Together, they were searching for Carlos's dragon, Lalo. Carlos had only just met his lightning dragon when something terrible had happened. A woman named Iko flew into Carlos's land 2 days ago, riding a thunder dragon. She kidnapped Lalo. Drake's earth dragon, Worm, had brought them to an island to look for Iko. Drake looked up at the trees. They were different from the ones at home in the kingdom of Bracken. These trees had long, skinny trunks. Their green, ruffled leaves reminded him of feathers. "Do you think we'll find her here?" Drake asked Diego. "Maybe," the wizard replied. Griffith's gazing ball showed Iko on an island a lot like this one. Griffith, another wise wizard, was Diego's friend and Drake's teacher. Kiki! Drake heard a cry. He looked up to see a brightly colored bird fly across the blue sky. "This would be a nice place to hide out," Drake said. "But I still don't understand why Iko kidnapped Lalo. She's a dragon master, just like me." Diego frowned. "As you know, Griffith teaches young dragon masters how to work with their dragons. Iko was his first student." "She and Griffith often argued," he replied. "About what?" Drake asked. "Iko did not want to follow Griffith's rules," Diego replied. "And one day, many years ago, she left Bracken. She took her thunder dragon, Neru, with her." "Did you go after her?" Drake asked. "Yes," Diego replied. "But Griffith and I could not find Iko or her dragon. We have not seen them since until 2 days ago." Carlos had been quiet for a while. Now, the dark-haired boy turned to Diego. "Do you think we will find Iko and Neru now?" he asked. Diego nodded. "There are more of us looking for them this time," he said. Other dragon masters were out searching Bo and his water dragon, Shu. Anna and her sun dragon, Kepri. Rory and her fire dragon, Vulcan. And Petra and her poison dragon, Zara. Griffith was in Bracken, watching over them with his gazing ball. "I just hope that Lalo is safe," Carlos said. Drake walked up to Worm. His dragon had tiny wings, but he couldn't fly. He didn't need to. Worm could use the powers of his mind to travel anywhere. "Worm, I know you can sometimes use your mind powers to hear other dragons," Drake said. "Do you hear Lalo?" Worm shook his head, then his eyes suddenly flashed green. "What is it?" Drake asked. Every dragon master wore a piece of the dragon stone that connected them to their dragons. Now Drake's dragon stone glowed green. Worm looked up. The sky turned black. A strong wind whipped up. A jagged streak of lightning flashed. "That could be Lalo's lightning," Carlos cried. Then boom/thunder crashed, lightning flashed again. This time, it hit the ground next to them, sizzling. "This is a dangerous storm," Diego yelled over the roaring wind. "We must go." He touched Worm. The boys did the same. Before the next bolt of lightning flashed, they all disappeared. 2. King Roland's big news. Drake's stomach flip-flopped as Worm transported them to Bracken. They landed inside the training room in King Roland's castle. "Drake! Carlos! You're back!" Bo cried. Drake blinked. His friends Bo and Anna were running toward him, followed by Griffith. The tall wizard looked happy to see them. You didn't find Lalo either? Bo asked. Drake shook his head. We went to an island, Bo continued, and we looked everywhere. So did we, Drake said. But then a bad thunderstorm kicked up and we had to leave. Griffith raised an eyebrow. A storm? A bad storm, Diego said. Neru and Lalo might have caused it, but we couldn't stay to find out. When can we go back? Carlos asked. Let's return to my cottage. Diego said. We can use my gazing ball to see when the island is safe. Let us know what you find, Griffith said. Diego waved his wand. Poof! Diego and Carlos disappeared. Just then, Rory and Petra came into the room. Red-haired Rory was frowning. Why did you make us come back? Rory asked, looking at Griffith. We were close to finding Lalo. I know it! Actually, King Roland requested that you all return, Griffith replied. I'm glad we're all together, Petra said. I'm not sure if Rory and I could fight Eco on our own. I'm not afraid of Eco, Rory said. You should be, Griffith said. Over time, Eco has learned to tap into the powers of her dragon. This makes her very strong. Will we be able to tap into our dragon's powers, too? Drake asked. Griffith nodded. Yes, but learning that takes many years. And I hope that you will all use that power to do good. Eco has chosen another path. All stand for King Roland. 2 royal guards entered the room. Everyone got quiet. King Roland stomped down the stairs. His red cape flapped behind him. Wizard! Dragon Masters! I have news. King Roland said. I am going to marry Queen Rose of Arkwood. Anna clapped her hands. Petra made a squealing sound. Drake and Bo exchanged happy looks. Queen Rose is so kind, Drake thought. Even Rory smiled. Congratulations, Your Highness, Griffith said. When is the wedding? Tomorrow. King Roland replied. There will be a big celebration, and I want it to begin with a parade of dragons. We will get to work on it right away, my king, Griffith promised. Very good, the king said as he turned to leave. I expect the most wonderful parade ever seen. Do not disappoint me. 3. A little help from magic. We can't plan a silly parade, Rory said. We have to keep looking for Lalo. Carlos and Diego are looking for Lalo. Griffith said. We must obey our king. Rory frowned but didn't argue. There is so much to do, Petra said. This is so exciting, Anna exclaimed. She ran into the classroom and everyone else followed her in. Then she began to draw. King Roland and Queen Rose need to make a grand entrance, she said. They should ride through the village in a fancy carriage, pulled by dragons. Shu would be honored to pull the carriage, Bo said. Anna nodded. Kepri too. They both can pull the carriage. She started drawing again. Our dragons should do tricks to show off their powers, Rory said. Vulcan could shoot fireballs. Fireballs are dangerous, Griffith said. Let's try to think of safe things your dragons can do. Rory frowned and folded her arms. Zara could sing, Petra said. She has a beautiful voice. I'm not sure what Worm should do, Drake said. You'll think of something, Drake Anna promised. She held up a drawing of a fancy carriage. How's this? It's perfect, Bo said. But where will we get a carriage like that by tomorrow? Anna looked at Griffith. Could you use magic? Griffith stroked his beard. I could do a transformation spell, he said. But I need something to transform. Something round and white. An onion, Drake cried. I'll get one. Drake ran off and soon returned with a big white onion from the kitchens. I bet my family grew this one, he said. We're the best onion growers in the kingdom. They all returned to the training room. Griffith placed the onion and the drawing on the floor. Stand back, he said. Griffith pointed at the onion. Sparks flew from his finger. They hit the onion. A simple onion is what we see, but a kingly carriage you shall be, he rhymed. The onion began to grow and grow. A big, white carriage sat where the onion had been. The carriage was made of wood carved with flowers. It looked just like Anna's drawing. It's perfect, Anna cried. This is a wonderful start, Griffith said. Come. We have more work to do before the wedding. 4. A parade of dragons. Today's a beautiful day for a wedding, Anna cheered the next morning. There isn't a cloud in the sky, agreed Bo. The dragon masters were outside the castle doors, ready for the wedding parade to begin. Each dragon master was wearing new clothes made by the king's tailor. Anna wore a yellow dress that shone like the sun. Bo wore a silky blue tunic with a wave stitched onto it. Rory's dress was as red as fire with a high, ruffled color. Petra's green dress had long sleeves and a short train behind it. Drake looked down at his yellow shirt and brown pants. His new outfit was a lot like his old one, only neater and cleaner. I love how we match our dragons, Petra remarked. You look like a fire dragon princess, Rory. Rory smiled. Thanks, she said. But can I be a fire dragon warrior instead? Of course you can, Petra replied. Griffith appeared. Places, everyone. The king and queen are coming. Rory ran to Vulcan, who was leading the parade. She climbed up and sat in a saddle. Puffs of gray smoke streamed from her fire dragon's nostrils. Drake picked up 2 buckets filled with flowers and ran to Worm's side. Worm stood next to Petra and her poison dragon, Zara. Each of the Hydra's 4 heads was smiling. Behind them, straps connected Capri and Shu to the magical white carriage. Anna and Bo rode on their dragons. Just then, King Roland and Queen Rose stepped onto the balcony. The king wore his royal garments. Queen Rose wore a long, white gown with red roses stitched all over it. Her eyes got wide when she saw the parade. Roland, what a lovely surprise. You know how much I adore your dragons. The king and queen came out of the castle. King Roland opened the door of the carriage. After you, my dear, he said. Then they both climbed inside. Let the wedding parade begin, King Roland announced. The castle gates opened, and the dragons stepped forward, led by Griffith. Villagers from Bracken and Arkwood clapped as the parade made its way to the wedding grounds. Vulcan flew into the air. Orange and red sparks shot from his nose. The crowd cheered. On the ground, Zara began to sing. Sweet tones drifted over the crowd. Now, Worm, Drake said, and his dragon's eyes began to glow green. Flowers floated out of Drake's buckets. They bounced and danced in the air like butterflies. Kids jumped up to catch them, giggling. The loudest cheer went up as Capri and Shu pulled the white carriage through the crowd. King Roland and Queen Rose waved to the villagers. Huzzah for King Roland! Huzzah for Queen Rose, everyone cheered. Suddenly, without warning, the sky grew dark. A wind whipped up. Lightning flashed. Take cover! Griffith yelled. The villagers rushed to stand under one of the wedding tents. King Roland pulled Queen Rose away from the carriage window. A loud roar filled the air, a roar like thunder. Boom! Drake looked up. A hole made of purple, swirling energy appeared in the sky. Eco and her dragon swooped down from the hole. A baby lightning dragon flew behind them. Lalo! Drake yelled. 5 Eco's demand. I want the dragons. Eco called out. Release them to me and I will leave. Drake and the other dragon masters stared up at Eco and her thunder dragon. Eco had black hair and piercing eyes. A glowing green dragon stone hung around her neck. Dark purple scales rippled down the long body of the thunder dragon. Its 4 legs had big claws. Whiskers flowed from its snout. The lightning dragon hovered behind the thunder dragon. Drake saw a dark whip of purple light connecting Lalo to Eco. Lalo can't get away, he thought. Eco is using Nera's powers to control him. Give me the dragons! Eco repeated, and her voice carried across the courtyard. Eco, give Lalo to us. Griffith called up to her. Never, Eco replied. And I will not leave without the other dragons. King Roland shook his fist at her. These dragons belong to me. Eco glared down at the king. Dragons belong to no one, she cried. Then let Lalo go. Griffith yelled. You don't care about him. You're only using him to cause the storm. This lightning dragon should be with my thunder dragon. Eco yelled. They belong together. Boom! Nera roared loudly. Drake felt the earth shake under his feet. Lalo flapped his wings nervously, shooting out sizzling sparks. The terrified villagers screamed and ran away. Drake glanced at the other dragon masters. They looked stunned and scared. But where are Rory and Vulcan? He wondered. Griffith stepped forward. Eco, enough, will let you fly away if you stop this now, he called up to her. Eco laughed. You'll let me fly away? I'm the one in control now, Griffith. Neru and I are more powerful than ever. Boom! The thunder dragon roared again. Drake had to cover his ears. Then Drake saw something red streaking across the sky. Rory swooped down, riding Vulcan. Her eyes looked angry as Vulcan dove toward Eco and the thunder dragon. Blast them, Vulcan! Rory yelled. 6. Battle in the sky. Rory, no! Griffith yelled. But Vulcan had already launched a fireball at the thunder dragon. As it hurled through the air, Nera roared again. Boom! This time, purple energy lines appeared, surrounding Neru and